So everyone here is a volunteer, right? Currently, so who here works with people that are low income, no to low income? And what about moderate income, potentially? Okay, so everybody, can I say that everyone here works with people that are no to moderate income? Does that seem relevant? Okay, so our organization, yeah?
I haven't worked with anybody, yes, I'm new.
Okay, so all those people you haven't worked with yet don't have money. Yet. Has anyone heard of Innovative Changes before? A few people? What do you know about us?
I just heard the word through Brianna.
Okay. So yeah, we're kind of an incognito organization in the sense that what we do is really fill gaps for things around the community that aren't being filled yet. So sometimes people, as you know, that end up in those situations don't get all the credit they deserve. So, you know, moms, for example, do all the cooking and cleaning, but don't necessarily get kudos for it. So Innovative Changes, we're located in the Lloyd Center Mall on the 3rd floor in that funny little spot that's past the food court where there's the dentist and the hair school. Does everyone know where that is? Carrington College was there, and then they're not there, but then they might be coming back. So the great thing about our location is we're super convenient for the whole Tri-County area in the sense of, like, if you think about the whole area, we're really centrally located when you include like St. John's and Vancouver. And then also, like, culturally, we find that a lot of our people that come to our office feel really comfortable. We share an office with Cash Oregon. Has anybody heard of Cash Oregon? So Cash Oregon does taxes all around the state, and both the same thing with Cash Oregon and Innovative Changes is that you can actually be any income to utilize our services. So it's not discriminated. You don't have to be on public benefits. You don't have to be low to moderate income. So for example, someone might be high income. People with high income still have issues with money, right? Mm-hmm. So you could have issues with money. Someone could have issues around budgeting or whatever their specific issues are. A lot of times it'll be like a mixed relationship where somebody who's better with money than their spouse. Mm-hmm. And those are people that we welcome into our services as well. And so we have a few different programs that I want to talk about, and there's 4 main programs that we have. So one is financial education. And I'm the financial education coordinator, and both Alana and I work in the financial education department at our organization. And so what we do is we go around the Tri-County area and work with either service providers, but most often participants, around helping them increase their financial well-being. And while we do prioritize low to moderate income people, those services are available to everyone. But what we find often is that in the current society, it's people who have low incomes that don't have access to learning about money, right? That there's actually a confusion about money all across the board, but it's typically people with no to low incomes that haven't had access. So some of those topics might be like I said before, budgeting, and there's lots of different exercises that we do with folks around that. One of the topics that's coming up this coming season is budgeting for the holidays, like figuring out how to get out of the holidays debt-free. So that's one of our topics. But we have like a bunch of other things. We teach people about banking and different banking products that are low to no cost, so that we do have some people, I don't know if have you worked with folks who are like victims of predatory lending, where people are using check cashing, payday loans, pawn shops? I'm getting in a lot of head nods. Yeah. So that's all under the umbrella of predatory lending, and so we help people get out from under predatory, having people be I don't know how to say it, predating them. So that's one of our things that we talk about. We generally do these in a series, and so our first class is called Making Ends Meet, and that can be a really good class for people that are on public assistance, folks that aren't able to actually get through the month with the amount of money that they have coming in. And they might actually have to make decisions about which bills to pay and what's going to be penalized least. Most people will pay their rent and then go from there. So these are all sessions that we have at our organization, and we also go around into the community. But I have some handouts I'm going to give you all. But you can always refer your clients to us, and people will take these classes either in the series, or they might just take one. So like, if somebody already has a bank account and they love their bank account, they might not be interested in the banking session. But the fourth class that we have is on credit, specifically on credit, and that's usually the one that people love. And that you're going to see that that's going to also apply to people of all incomes, because you can have a high income and a really low credit score, right? So one of the things we talk about is just helping people learn how to read a credit score. All the different things that are on their credit score, how to help them. We can show them how to dispute those things as well. So another reason that people might take our classes is because they're trying to fulfill some requirements that are set by different, that are set by different organizations in the community. Has anyone heard of matched savings, or IDA, an individual development account? Can you tell us what it is?
It's when an individual client, whatever you want to call it, saves a certain dollar amount for a goal, and then the grant or the other funding source will match it when they achieve their financial goal to get whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah.
And it works with kids. REACH has a great program to work with younger kids to save their money for goals that they match.
Cool. Has anybody else heard of these? So something that's really good to keep in the forefront of your mind when working with people that are interested in moving toward some bigger financial goals. So those things would be like, what are some bigger financial goals that someone might have?
A business, small
A business, exactly.
Retirement.
Retirement. What are some other
Purchasing
things?
a home,
Yep. Home buying.
A car.
Yeah. Car.
education.
Education. So the main IDAs that we have, so individual development account, if you haven't heard of it before, one way you can think of it is kind of like an IRA, but it's in the present moment. So I don't actually like to keep going with that analogy, but when I first learned about IDAs and I had an IRA, that was useful for me, so that might be a useful way for you to think about it. What's your name again?
Donna.
Donna. So, but it's exactly as Donna said. The person saves $1 and then they get matched with a certain amount. In Oregon, it's typically 3 to 5 based upon the IDA and based upon the organization. They also get called match savings. A lot of times when I'm working with clients, I just call them match savings because then you don't have to deal with the acronym and all that kind of stuff. But the thing to keep in the forefront of your mind is that in Oregon, we're lucky and we're privileged to have the most match savings money anywhere in the country. So whenever I've done lobbying in Washington, D.C., people are like, Oregon, Oregon, because we have all this money because, there's a tax credit, and also Merkley is really big. Merkley and Wyden are both really big on match savings. So the main match savings that we have in Oregon is for home buying, for education, and for small business, okay? So there are some other places that do other IDAs, so one is, but those are the main three, but then also people that have disabilities that say, for example, that we call it assistive technology, that's what they call it in the IDA world. So that would be like, if someone already owned a home and they are in a wheelchair, they're using a wheelchair, maybe they weren't disabled when they bought the house, so it didn't have a ramp, and they need to build a ramp, right? In my opinion, that should be free for them, but that's besides the point. So a match savings program can help them save to be able to build a ramp. There's also really great home repair ones, so there might be people who own their home, but they need a new roof and they can't afford it. There's match savings for that. There's even match savings. We're basically trying to expand the definition of what match savings is for. There's even match savings for like if someone is trying to look for work, but they have teeth that are missing and they need some, a partial or some type of work on dental work, there's even match savings for that. So like we're really interested, it's kind of like we do the daily work and then there's like, political movement that we can always push forward. So we're really interested in the match savings world and expanding the definition of what match savings can look like. Yes?
So do you have your client to apply for those match saving grants? Is that what you do?
Yeah, so what I would do if you were interested is you can do some research. I can put one of the, basically there's a fiduciary organization called CASA of Oregon. They distribute all of the money to all of the different match savings programs in the state. And if you go to their website, it's casaoforegon.org. And you can click on the county that you're in. It'll show all of the IDA programs that are in that county. And so that can be useful. What you want to do, I would do a warm handoff with your client. So I wouldn't give them this website. I would go on this website. If you know what the specific IDA they're interested in, so they want to do home buying, do the research for them, find out who the home buying ones are. This is my recommendation to you. You don't have to follow it. Then I would call those organizations. So say there's 6. And I would say, are you accepting new clients for your home ownership IDA? And if they say yes, so say you get 7 and then there's 4 people that say that they are accepting, then I would give those numbers to your client. Or, whatever kind of relationship you have with your client, if you have a more of a closer relationship, then set up an appointment and go with them to that orientation. Most of the IDA programs have an orientation process that the person needs to go to. And then once they go to the orientation process, then they can apply. Because with IDAs, there are income restrictions. So moderate income and below is what IDAs are looking for. But some of the requirements are really generous. So like someone who's looking to buy a home with a match savings, you can actually already own a home and do it. So there are some different things where they exempt, a home and then a car and then like a certain amount of money in your bank account. Yeah.
Where's the funding from?
So the reason why we have a lot of money is because we have a tax credit in Oregon, so people will check that they want to donate, and then the rest of it is federal and state funding. Yeah.
Match funding assumes that you have some money to match.
Exactly.
What do you,
Yeah.
someone who's living from hand to mouth,
Yeah.
how
So
do they do it?
that's a really good question, Will. So those are people that wouldn't yet be appropriate for the match savings program, likely. Those are people that you'd want to, you can let them know about it as something like a future goal, but that's a really good point. If someone's not able to consistently save, say $25 a month, or $12.50, $25.50, then it's just not gonna have meaning because they're not gonna be able to save the amount. You want to save the maximum amount, right? Whenever you do this sort of thing, because you want to be matched with the maximum amount. So, like in our education IDA, the maximum is someone will save $3,000 and we'll give them 9, so then they have 12. If someone was only able to save $500, then they're only going to get $1,500. And for us, we want.
So it's a 3-to-1 match?
Yeah, at our organization, we only do education, and so. For us, we want to give the maximum amount. So somebody who's only able to save $500, they're not going to be at the top of our list of who we're going to want as a saver, because we're going to want to make the biggest impact with someone's educational costs as possible. Does that make sense? And so, but we do have services at our organization that can help people get to that place of being able to save, right? So that, like I said, the making ends meet, the budgeting. A big thing that I always try to tell clients and service providers is that a lot of times we focus so much on, how to constrict spending, but really a lot of it is actually about brainstorming how to increase income and how to increase money coming in, because sometimes people they just don't have enough money, right? And that's a huge barrier. And so what are the different ways we can help people get an increase in revenue, right? So that they can then use that for their goals. Yes?
Would you define moderate formings? I know where the law is.
Yeah, there's like actual, I'm also not even though I sound like I am, I'm not the IDA specialist at our organization, There's an exact figure, and it's like 44,000 in the Portland area, something like that. That would be, you would need to be below that for a family of one. You would need to be below that, but don't quote me on it. If you Google like Oregon IDA income restrictions, it will come up. Yeah.
If a person has, say, $10,000 income, which is Social Security, but they have some other assets, inheritance or cars or houses and things like that, is that taken into consideration?
If they're doing a home IDA, an education one, it wouldn't be taken into consideration. So if they have $10,000 coming in, the main issue is just how much are they going to be able to save every month? That's the main issue. So it's not about that they are above water or below water in any other thing. It's more just how much are they going to be able to save. And the savings can be babysitting. It could be babysitting. It doesn't need to be like any kind of highfalutin job or anything. So, yeah.
The savings can be giving up Starbucks and other expensive treats.
Exactly.
I mean, that has been
Yeah.
one of the things that's been proven successful as far as when people realize where their money's going.
Yeah, and that's where the budgeting piece comes in. So what she's talking about, we call a spending leak, right? So it's the money that we have going out that we don't even realize it, but as soon as we start to kind of look and see what have I been buying, it adds up. And it can add up to, $100 a month or more.
And I'm not picking on Starbucks, it can
Yeah.
be Pete's or
Yeah. Or energy drinks or whatever.
drinks or whatever, yeah.
And one of the things with those spending leaks, like if you're ever helping someone with a budget, is to keep them in the budget until the person actually does stop doing them. So like cigarettes is a really good example. If someone wants to quit and they eliminate their cigarettes from their budget, but then they keep buying them, it can really throw off a budget, right? Okay, so we have financial education, we have an education IDA. So our match savings is where somebody saves $1 and they get $3. The maximum they can save is $3,000, at least that we're gonna match, and then we give them $9. The thing about our education IDA and all of the education IDAs in the area is that right now they're all closed. Basically, this organization, CASA of Oregon, all their money got used up in the fall semester. This is good because it means more people are accessing and we're getting the word out about these education IDAs that for 10 years we've been like, this exists, and now people know it exists and we're like, oh God, because we have all these awesome young people of all ages can do it, but there's all these teenagers that are on our wait list now, and it's a bummer, right? Because we want to be able to provide them with this opportunity, but right now there's a freeze. There's gonna be money that's gonna be released in 2015. So it's still something to keep on your radar, and you can always check in with us. I'm gonna put our website on here. So does anybody have any questions about what I talked about so far?
Yeah, I have a question
Yeah.
about, so you said all the money was spent up in the autumn
Yeah.
for education. So does that mean that those young people who are, or older people who enrolled in school, that
They're all in the program.
they're in the program?
They're fine.
They're fine, they're not gonna be,
No, it's
okay,
the
you're out.
people who are interested that aren't
Okay.
yet incorporated
Okay.
that are waiting. They're waiting
Very sad.
They're waiting to find out more.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you go from I've got the savings to the use? I mean, does
Yeah,
first
good
you
question.
buy a receipt or?
It's a good question. So there's money that you put in, that the saver would put into an account that actually is through CASA, and that stays in this account. After 6 months of saving, they can start accessing it. So if somebody's gonna graduate from college in 6 months or 7 months, it's not a good fit because you wanna be able to utilize that money, right? So there's actually, you can start saving 2 years prior to using. So this is actually something that youth 16 and older can start saving for. You can also save for your child. But if you have a teenager or a young person in your life who's coming to be 16, this is a really, really cool opportunity. So the money stays in a savings account that's a joint account between the saver and CASA of Oregon. And we're basically there to help assist the saver in the classes and then also just keeping track. Like if they miss a payment, we're calling them going, hey, what's going on? And then after 6 months, there'll be an alert sent. There's not a whole lot. There's hundreds of people doing it in Oregon, but it's manageable, right? So there will be an alert sent to CASA, and then CASA will pay the school. So if they're going to Portland Community College, if they're going to PSU, if they're going to Reed, if they're going to Aveda Hair Institute, the CASA will then send that money to the school. Yeah.
So what if they stop halfway through, before they use all the money?
Yeah, so they would be able to
The
get,
part that they put in?
they get all their money back, and that's true for all IDAs, all match savings. They get all their money back, they don't get the match. So, yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
On education, do you vet the organization, like it has to be an accredited
Yeah.
school, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's all accredited schools, and trade schools are allowed, different types of certification programs are allowed. So it's all accredited folks. Other questions about that?
Well, following up, construction. I want a new roof, and Joe Fly-by-Night says, I'll fix your roof for $10. Would you give money for Joe, or do you also credit people who are construction people, CCB sort of?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, because our program doesn't have the home repair IDA, but that's a really good question. The main place we refer for the housing ownership is Portland Housing Center. There's also NAYA, the Native American Youth Association. They also have IDAs for both housing and education. REACH CDC. So when you go onto Casa Boarding, you're going to see all these names.
I think Human Solutions, they used to.
Yeah, I think they do too. And I think they have one for people with disabilities. So moving forward, unless you have any more questions about this specifically, another program that we have that is really, really cool is we have a loan program, okay? And through the loan program, we have two different loans. One is called the Opportunity Loan, and that is something where we need the referring partner to refer their client to us to access. And if Elders in Action isn't already one, you could become one. What that requires is that the staff person attends a 1-hour orientation. So you wouldn't all need to attend. It would be like Brianna would attend the 1-hour, it's a webinar. And then the thing that's really cool is it's an actual loan. There's a fee attached to it, like most loans that aren't from family members. If you have a family member who charges you a fee, I apologize. But there is a fee, but we don't decide what you do with the money. So it's a true loan, like where someone can use the money to fix a car, or pay for back child support, or pay for a deposit on an apartment, whatever they want to do with it. Why do we have it? Why does it matter? Because it's an alternative for people who wouldn't be able to access a loan through a regular bank, right? We're a little bank. We're a CDFI. So we're an alternative financial institution. We're an alternative to banks. So we help people in this realm, in the loan department, specifically around one, the Opportunity Loan, and the other one is called the Credit Builder Loan. The Credit Builder Loan is something people use more than the Opportunity Loan, and you don't need a referral for that. I did bring flyers, so I'll give every single person some materials when we leave. The Credit Builder Loan, actually I'll just pass those ones out right now. Sure. Just hand these people on the other side. They won't be all. So the Credit Builder Loan isn't a real loan in the sense that it's not money where we give somebody and then they need to pay us back with interest. What the Credit Builder Loan is specifically for is building someone's credit. It's kind of like a secured credit card, but it's more like a savings account. I know this is a little bit confusing, but this is what happens when you have alternative financial products where we're trying to meet the needs of people that are unbanked or unable to get loans. And so the way it works is the minimum that they can put in, so this kind of goes with Will's question before, they're gonna need to be able to put in at least $12.50 a month for 1 year. For some people, that's not gonna be possible. For some people, they're gonna put in more. The only reason you would put in more is because you want more money at the end of the year, not because it's gonna help your credit anymore. A lot of people that we work with that are first-time home buyers, their credit isn't high enough actually for them to get that home, so they're trying to boost their credit. This is one way they do it. say they do $50 every month, they get $600 at the end, that can go toward the down payment of their house. So the way it works is someone will put in $12.50, $25 or $50 every month for 1 year. Every time they give us a payment, we mark positive to the credit bureaus. Right now, we're marking positive to 2. We're working on getting the 3rd one. They don't like working with nonprofits, so we're in the process of getting them to do that. So right now, we're marking to 2 of the credit bureaus. At the end of the year of the 12 months, we say on the credit report, paid in full. So it's a positive mark. And what's really exciting about this is that if you know anything about credit, you know that you need to have both revolving and installment types of loans. And so a lot of people that don't have a house or a car, they just have revolving. So that's mostly credit cards, right? So this is a type of installment loan, and it's really fantastic because it can help diversify that person's credit portfolio and increase their credit score. There are fees attached to it. There's a $25 application fee. The client would come, and this is also to anybody in the room who might have a no to low score. Someone who would have a no score is often like a recently arrived immigrant or a young person, a teenager just starting out. Then those of us who've had issues will have more of a lower score, right? So people with a no to low score, you come in, there's an orientation, it's 1 hour. Basically our credit builder specialist, whose name's Rachel Stein, she'll be doing the orientation and she'll be able to answer, there'll only be like 1 to 6 people in the room, and she'll be able to specifically talk with the people about their specific issues and then decide, this week she had a woman that wanted to do it, and then based upon hearing the woman, she was like, I don't think it's a good fit right now because the income of the woman that wanted to apply, it wasn't high enough. It was gonna actually hurt her. It was gonna stress her out to have $1,250 taken out, okay? So I know I've got a couple questions. I'm gonna grab them in a second. So basically there's $25 once the person sits down and does the application, because that's the money that we use to look at their credit report so we know where to go from. That there's no charge to come to the orientation. And then at the end of the 12 months, we take $25 out. That's money that we use to send the report to the credit bureaus. So it's a $50 fee total. And if this didn't seem like a good fit, there are other alternatives for people. So secured credit cards. If this was something somebody was interested in, if I was their advocate and they had a bank account and their score was middle of the road, maybe slightly low, maybe low, I would have them apply for a secured credit card with their bank. If they didn't qualify and they wanted to get their credit score up for whatever reason, I would send them to Innovative Changes for the credit builder loan. So why I say that is because you often need a higher score for the secured credit card than you do for the credit builder loan. For the credit builder loan, you don't need any score. Does everybody know what a secured credit card is? It's where you're using it like a credit card, not a debit card, but you're using it, it's a credit card, but it's money that's attached to your account. So that's similar to a debit card, but every time you're using it and you're paying it, you're getting positive marks on your credit score. Debit cards have nothing to do with your credit report, right? Okay, I had a question over here.
Yeah, can you just say a couple of words, a couple of examples of installment loan? I just forgot.
Yeah. So a mortgage, a home mortgage, a car loan. If you went to Sears and you didn't use a credit card to buy a fridge, but you set up a payment plan to buy a fridge, those are all installment.
So
and then
if
any kind of loan from a bank, like if you had a personal loan for $1,000 from Wells Fargo, that's an installment loan.
Okay, so if I have a credit card, a debit card from Gap,
Yeah.
and I'm paying them every time they send me a bill,
Yeah.
is that an installment loan?
That's
or-
revolving.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it would be a credit card, yeah. So it's only a debit card if it's attached to your bank account. But if it has a Visa or MasterCard logo, that means that you're being allowed to use it at places that accept Visa and MasterCard, but it's coming out of your checking account, right? Question over here?
Yeah, maybe I missed it, but for the opportunity loan, did you mention how much you charge for that?
There is a certain amount of
What's the
interest,
interest?
and I'm not sure. It's 18% interest and a 5% origination fee. Will you pass these up? These are just general brochures for our organization, but it has the exact number there. And we're working on increasing the amount of money that we can lend on the opportunity loan. So right now, it's just $100 to $1,000, but we're working on trying to get it higher. So, like I said, we've got financial education, which we're doing a little bit here. So like how I'm talking a little bit about, here's the difference between a debit card and a credit card. That's financial education, right? And then we also have the education match savings program. And then we also have the whole loan department, which is the credit builder loan and the opportunity loan. Any questions thus far? And we have another program that's really exciting, which is our coaching program. And Alana is going to talk more about it.
So, for all of you, so you know, I am an AmeriCorps Vista placed at Innovative Changes I have a partner there. And we are one of 9 sites around the country that has set up this financial coaching program. It's funded by Bank of America, just so you know. And so this coaching program is really exciting. It's a really new way to look at the way we interact with our finances, and specifically the way that we try to help people with their finances. So what we do is we go out and we recruit volunteers. We train the volunteers. Our training is 7 hours. We provide lunch. And these volunteers are trained to be one-on-one financial coaches. We then match them up with clients who we've recruited, usually through other services or through our referring partners or just the community at large. And then the coaches and clients meet at least once a month, but usually every 2 weeks for as long as it takes. And their type of relationship is really unique, I think, from other relationships having to do with money, in that coaches aren't there to give advice about finances. These aren't financial specialists. These are just regular community members who have decided to come in and give their time. They're not there to make judgment about the way that the client has used their money or the situation they're in for whatever reason that they are there. They're not there to, like I said, give advice, pass judgment, give any sort of, they're there to be partners. You're there to be a partner in that client's self-identified goals. So we have been trained by the Central New Mexico Community College, which is kind of a big deal in the coaching world. And so you're there to ask questions. You're there to help the client identify what is their most important goals and work with them, being a partner in research to find out how to accomplish those goals. So one of the most important things is that, and you might ask, like, why? What if you're not offering your expertise? Why are you there? And it's because people really need a partner. They need someone who maybe is detached from the rest of the stress of their life, someone who isn't personally invested in their finances, to just sit there and be like, I'm just gonna sit here while you call that credit bureau. I'm gonna sit here and help you research on the computer what this line on your credit report means. I'm gonna sit here and help you research how we can decorate your new child's room for the least expense, because you wanna have a beautiful space for your baby and it would cost you like $600 otherwise. And they're also there to be to hold your client accountable, so that they have someone who they can say, I had this goal where I was gonna budget and I was gonna save $50 a week, and I did it. And you can say, yes, that's an awesome goal, you did it. And also, if the client comes in and says, I had this goal but it didn't work, you can say, all right, what happened? Do we need to reassess the goal? Was $50 an unrealistic amount for you to save for this month? You know, you're gonna talk through what it is that's realistic, what it is that they are actually trying to accomplish, and different ways that you can do that. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah?
Yeah. I want to go back to that basic idea that you're not setting the goals for them. That's what I see a very powerful concept, and I call it empowerment, if you will, or community organizing, where the client sets the goals and has the ambition, and you help them achieve their goals.
Yeah.
Psychologically, it's really hard to do. You want to help them. Here's what you really should be doing.
Yeah, we have this feeling, I think that it's, a lot of the way that we've constructed and bought into our society, that people who are living in poverty are broken, that they don't know what they're doing, that they need to be fixed, that they need to be helped. And that's just not true. These people are incredibly resourceful, incredibly intelligent. They know better than you ever will how to fix their problems. You just need to be there to be that person where they can say, look, I did this thing. I need someone to be proud of this. I need someone to hold me accountable to doing this. One of the things that we say a lot, and that Central New Mexico says a lot, is that our clients are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole, and that they are the experts in their lives. There's no way that anyone can possibly know better how to improve your situation than you can. Yep.
Yeah, if somebody really doesn't have an idea what their goals are, maybe doesn't understand the concept or some of the possibilities, would you be able to make some examples? Say, well, here are some of the examples that people use for making goals.
Yeah.
Without directing them to one specific goal.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of our program is based on asking questions and just really listening to their answers, because I think that even if a client can't necessarily identify what it is that their specific goal is, if you ask enough questions, they'll tell you. Even if they're saying, I don't know, everything is a mess and I don't really know what to do, if you ask enough questions about why they're there, why they're looking for assistance, what it is that makes them happy in their life, what it is that they're trying to save towards, what it is that they would like to accomplish, you're going to come up with some really great goals. More questions?
Some of the people that we interact with for various presenting problems aren't really about presenting problems. A lot of times it's about being isolated, lonely. Do you guys encounter that kind of thing?
Yeah, to some extent. I like to think of it a little bit differently, in that it's really empowering to have someone on your side and someone sitting next to you and helping you through things. But I think that definitely plays into it. I was talking to a client last week, I think, who she was calling her collectors to try to negotiate to settle for a smaller amount of money than her credit report indicated. And this woman was the best negotiator I have ever interacted with. She was confident. She just kept saying, I don't think that that's a reasonable amount. Let's try this one. And she got them down super far. And I was like, what am I doing here? That was incredible. I would have never been able to negotiate at that low. And she's like, I just, wanted to have someone sitting next to me. So yeah, I think that that's a big part of it, is just having someone on your side.
So you would never be the one calling the creditor to do that. You want your client to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so you're not doing it for them.
Absolutely.
You're just there to suggest maybe you should call them and say this and that, but you will not do it. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I have worked with clients who wanted the speaker, it to be on speakerphone in case I wanted or needed to help. I never do. They've got it handled. They, like I said, they're going to understand their situation and be able to articulate it better than you would. So, but yeah, sitting with people can be really powerful.
Yeah, one example of that, just that, is a client who's not an English speaker, speaks Cantonese, and writes these very jumbled English-type letters. But he went ahead and wrote the letter, which reinforced his point was, I don't speak English very well, I need some help. And it was effective. I love another thing, but you do have, I think, tools and techniques that you use in the coaching, not just sitting there being nice. Can you give some examples of what you
Absolutely. So the coaching program that we use, like I said, is based on a Central New Mexico coaching model. And there are a bunch of different tools that we use to sort of frame the conversation. The first one is the COACH acronym, which I will tell you now.
You want to use the set board for
Oh.
bigger
Yeah.
letters?
So this is just like a basic way that you would frame your conversation. The C stands for competencies. C. And that's talking about, is this client in a place where they're ready to be coached, basically. So there are clients who aren't in that place if they are crazy, like in crisis, like they're having their house foreclosed on in that moment. That's not going to be a time when you're going to want to like sit with them and ask some really powerful questions about how they're feeling, you know? Like they don't, in that moment, they don't have the competency to work towards their goals. They're dealing with immediate things, right? Competency can also mean like, we think about it in terms of like, do they have other space in their life? Because we ask that clients take action steps towards their goals outside of the meeting. So like, are they in a place when they're gonna be able to do that? Or are they like working so many hours a week, so many weeks on end that they just don't have the time and energy to really like take steps outside of their coaching meetings towards their goals, right? Those would be indicators of competency. So the O stands for outcome. And this is where you're gonna talk about your goals, right? You wanna talk about, you're not just having a sort of mindless conversation about money, right? You're talking about really concrete, specific goals, things that you want to accomplish. What do we want to have happen through this? What are we trying to do by having this conversation using questions about what your goals are? So the A stands for action steps. And you want to make sure that when you're talking about goals and whether or not this person can accomplish them, that there are concrete things that you can do, right? You want to be able to say, oh, in order to raise my credit, I need to start paying off these debts. And I can do that by saving $5 a week and putting that towards my debt, right? That's a concrete action step. And each meeting you might come up with like 3 action steps that the client is gonna complete by the next time. Like drink 1 less Starbucks a week to put that towards the savings account. Call a creditor and have a conversation about settling and pull their credit report. Those might be your 3 action steps. They can be whatever it is the client is like ready to accomplish at that time. And then the CH stands for checking in, and this is the accountability part, right? Where you're gonna say to them, all right, how will I know that you took action steps towards your goals? Are you gonna email me? Are we gonna talk about it in our next meeting? How will I know if you need extra help with that? How will I know? Are you gonna email me? Are you gonna call me? How will I know if we need to adjust the goals we're working towards? If you are taking action steps and you realize, wait, this isn't actually what I wanna do. What I really wanna do is this other thing. How are we gonna check in on that? So this is like the very basic way that you might frame a conversation with a client. More questions? Oh, yes. If your client seems like it might be a good candidate for coaching, you can refer them to us. You already passed that out. The contact on there is my Vista partner, Andrea. She is the one in charge of incoming clients and coaches and matching them. As Sailor said, I work in the education and the coaching program on curriculum. So if it seems like your client has goals and they are, really ready and energized to start working on them, then send them our way for some coaching. Also, as you can see, we have another coach training coming up on the 22nd. I'll just give a little plug for volunteers because I think that this is a really great program to volunteer with. I know that you guys already are volunteering. I volunteer in a couple different capacities. I, work in a women's shelter. And this is a really great way to volunteer because it's a pretty small amount of time commitment, like an hour and a half, twice a month, and it's so rewarding. It's one of those things that after a meeting where your client has like identified some goals and had some even like tiny little successes of like, I called that creditor and it didn't go horribly. Like that can be such a huge success, and it can be so relieving for them that it's like really rewarding for you.
One thing I'll say about that too is that I've worked in a lot of, for 15 years, like more like crisis management type work. And so what can be really great about this type of volunteering is that you can see people make changes that feel significant in their lives, as opposed to when you work in crisis management where you're just putting Band-Aids on problems. And if people are like on public assistance and they're not able to move forward yet, it can be nice to kind of have a balance where you can help somebody who has some money coming in work on getting a car or whatever their specific goal is. One other thing I wanted to see if you would tell them is, I know you talked a little bit about it, but just to give them a sense more of different types of situations that people are coming in with.
Yeah, that's a really good question. As I have worked in this job, the number one thing that I think people are looking for is help with budgeting. And we have so many tools to help you, to help coaches help their clients with that. And I think that that's really the number one thing, because I think a lot of the other things that people are working towards, like getting a car or getting a house or working on their credit or dealing with collectors, kind of in some way boil down to budgeting and money management. We do get a lot of folks coming in with like, this collector is calling me 5 times a week and I just can't deal with it. It's crazy. I don't have this money. And we, our coaches have resources around letters that you can send them and, words that are more effective to use on the phone when you're talking with them. So I think that, budgeting, collections. I think that bankruptcy is something that people come to us a lot, and that is a really great example of a time when our coaches need to sort of know the boundaries of our program, because we can't give bankruptcy assistance, and that's a great time for them to refer them to another place. Mm-hmm.
It was brought up slightly, but can you talk with me a little bit about cultural diversity and multilingual people who come in that are not native English speakers, and honoring their diversity, their backgrounds culturally? What kind of training you have for volunteers on that? Or
I'll speak to the language first. Unfortunately, I think that we only have one Spanish-speaking, two Spanish-speaking coaches right now. I think we have one Japanese-speaking coach. Unfortunately, that's something that we're definitely looking to expand our program in, because there are a lot of people who call who don't have English as their first language, and we'd really like to be able to help them. And I think with the cultural diversity, that's something that we do talk about in our training, and I think really comes down, the way that we focus on it comes down to listening. The way that people interact with their finances, it really boils down most often to their values, which has a lot to do with their culture. So really listening to your clients' values, and when they say, it's important for me to donate to this charity, it's important for me to send money home, it's important for me to buy this sort of thing for my family or for myself, really being listening enough to be aware that that is really important to them, and that is going to make their life better, right? And I think that really comes down to, like, that person is an expert in their life. They know that if they're not donating to their church, they're not going to feel good, and that's not going to help anyone, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So coming back to competency, if you have, do you leave it up to your coach to decide if that person can be coached, or is there somebody who does an intake?
Mm-hmm.
Like Brianna does an intake for us here. Do you have somebody who does an intake and decides if that person is an appropriate person to have a coach or not?
Absolutely. We I think that we found, and the other sites around the country found, that when there isn't that intake screening process, we just end up losing clients, and it's not, you know, a good experience for the coach or the client. And so we have a pretty lengthy phone interview that happens. It's about 20 minutes long, and it's sort of like a mini coaching session where my partner Andrea, you know, goes over questions like, tell me about some of your goals, tell me about some of the things that you're facing right now in your finances, tell me if you are you having an emergency, you know, what are ways that you've worked on managing your money in the past. So there is a screening, and it does, you know, obviously life changes. So sometimes a client who came in as being super ready and energetic to be coached, something happens and that changes and they need to leave the program. But we do definitely have a screening process. Yep.
Yeah, I go to a senior center where I volunteer over in Belmont. And in that group, we have Russians, we have Filipinos, we have Vietnamese, we have, I said Filipinos, we have Chinese people, and there are quite a number of them. And I don't know if they would be appropriate as translators. Some of them are quite smart, and their English is pretty good. But if you want to talk about that, I'll see what I could set up.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, they might be great as just coaches that could.
No,
then
not as
speak.
well. They could be coaches. I doubt they could be coaches, but they could be translators.
Yeah.
Maybe they could be coaches. Some of them.
The thing about coaching is that just like we believe that all clients are resourceful and whole, we also think that about all the coaches. So that's in your favor if you end up becoming one. But you know, we're human and we're intrinsically good. So it's possible that a lot of them would be good for it.
Yeah, they're all over 60.
Great, that's fantastic. And yeah, that's another thing that we find too, is having the age diversity is really nice for people if they want to work with an older, if they're older and they would like to work with an older person, or a younger person works with a younger person. Because, you know, we try to match people up where they're congruent with the person that they're working with. And also with the same part of town, we try to get them in the same neighborhood.
There is, for languages not very common, there is a service on the phone that you can call, but it's very expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't know if you have, I know the county of, Multnomah County, for example, pays for it, so if it's a county agency or someone connected, they can connect it. I've used it a couple of times for things as Tigrinya, for is a language in Ethiopia. And do you have access to that, or is it?
Yeah.
We do.
You do, cool.
Great. I know that actually.
If the person doesn't meet their, you know, they're not, you feel they're not capable of, with the program, going through the program, so what do? Do you refer them to another different agency, or do you just let them be on their own and try to manage themselves?
Most likely when we think that clients aren't going to be a good fit for the program, it's because we think that they're going to be a better fit elsewhere. You know, if it's usually like Andrea spends a lot of time saying like, here's a bankruptcy clinic you should go to.